Before this video starts, make sure to give it a quick thumbs up, and if you are not a current subscriber, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll never miss a video. Thanks. Okay, so this trick is definitely an advanced one, so you want to make sure that you practice on the moves and perfect all the sleights before you show this to an actual spectator. So anyways, let's get right into this. So you're going to need a deck of cards, obviously, and I highly recommend that you use a bicycle for this one. I'll explain why in just a minute. But once you have your deck, you're going to remove any four of a kind of your choice. I use the 4 sevens in the performance, so I will use them again here for the tutorial. You are also going to need a blank card, and on the card you are going to write "the card is in the box." Now, I know some of you guys may not have access to blank cards, so if you don't, I will leave a link in the description below to where you can purchase your own. And if you don't want to do that, you can simply just write "the card is in the box" on one of the jokers, but I recommend that you use a blank card. It just looks a lot better in performance time. Now, you are also going to need a card box. Now, the box must have the back design of the cards on it, otherwise this trick will not work. Now, this is why I recommend bicycle, because if you take a card and you put it on the back of the box where the back design is, it looks exactly the same. It looks like there's not even a card there, and that's going to be very important later on in the effect. Now, let's just say you use a Theory 11 box, for example, like the Union deck. The back design is there, however, there's a bunch of foil in different colors, so if you place a card here, you can still tell it's there and you cannot hide it. So this is why I recommend that you just stick with bicycle, okay? So now, I also know that a lot of bicycle boxes have this back design nowadays. They don't have the cards in the back, they just have this design in the back. So if that's the case, all you need is a card and some double stick tape, and just stick the card to the back and make that look like the back design of the box, and then you'll be good to go. But nevertheless, just make sure you have a box that has the back design of the cards on the back. We'll get into more of that later on in the trick. But anyways, here is the setup for the trick. You're going to take your 4 of a kind and you're going to place this on top of the deck. And the card that you want to be your helper card is going to be the topmost card. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the card is in the box card and you're going to put this in the second to last position face up, okay? So now the deck is all ready to go. As far as the box goes, just keep it close to you with the back design facing up. And again, that's going to be very important later on. I'll explain why later on in the tutorial. But now, let's get into the handling of the effect. Okay, so to start off this trick, if you want, feel free to show that all the cards are completely mixed up. Just make sure that you block push the first few cards so you don't show the face down blank card, and then just spread through to show the cards are completely mixed up. Obviously, don't spread all the way through because you don't want to flash your 4 of a kind at the top of the pack. But once the spectator is convinced that the cards are mixed up, then you're going to get into the actual production of the 7s. And basically, this entire trick is forcing your 4 of a kind in different methods. So let's get into the first method right now. Okay, so the first method is probably the easiest of the bunch. It looks a little something like this. You're going to spread out the cards and have the spectator touch the back of any card. Now, they can really touch any card. It does not matter. It is a free choice. So let's just say they touch the back of this card. Now, you don't want to show them this card because this is a random card. You want to make it look like that they picked a 7. So the way that you're going to do this is you're going to do a push-off pinky break on the top card. And now the best way to do this is gesture your hands and say something like, "Do you really believe that you could have picked any card?" And as you're doing this motion, do the push-off pinky break, because then this motion right here is pretty much invisible to the spectator. So once you have your pinky break, you're going to set this random card on top of the deck, maintaining the pinky break. And now you're going to do a double lift, flipping over both cards as one, showing that they picked a 7. Now, you need to ditch this random card back into the center of the deck. So the first thing you're going to do is leave it on top of the deck by doing something called the KM move, which looks a little something like this. So again, all I just did was ditch that card on top of the deck. So now, from here, you have your card in the pinky break, of course. And again, all that's going to be happening here is you're going to kind of flip the cards over as if you're doing a double lift. So just pull the cards back and start to flip them over. But instead of flipping these cards over, Once the cards reach your fingertips right here, you're going to take your hand with the deck and turn that over. So when you're doing this, your four fingers are actually contacting this top card. So all that's left to do is literally pull out the 7 as your four fingers retain this card on top of the deck. So it looks a little something like this in slow motion. I'll make sure it's exposed so you guys can see what's going on. Just like that. So all again that's happening is your four fingers retain that card on top of the deck. So one more time. Start to flip over the cards. Once these cards reach your fingertips back here, take the hand with the deck and flip that over. And then just peel out the 7 as your four fingers retain this card on top of the deck. So one more time in full speed, it'll look a little something like this. So now I invisibly just kind of ditch that card on top of the deck and just cleanly put this card face down on the table. And now that card is on top of the deck, of course. So in order to ditch it to the center, is you're just going to do a slip cut. And a slip cut is literally taking the top card, slipping it to the middle, putting the pack back on top. That's it. So now you're left with just this 7 on the table. And you want to leave the helper card face down on the table throughout the entire trick. And I will explain why in a little bit later on. But basically, this next part of the trick is the second force. You're going to riffle down the deck, and the spectator is going to call out stop at any point. Wherever they say stop, you're going to slide the card into the pack. And yeah, so just go ahead and have the spectator call out stop. And they really can say stop anywhere. This is a free choice. You're not forcing a spot or anything. Slide the helper card in face down. Lift the packet up exactly where they said stop. And then set the helper card face down again. Again, make sure you keep it face down. And I'll explain why later on. But now, you need to make it look like that they stopped on the 7. Now, in this case, they stopped on the King of Diamonds, and it's always going to be a random card. But in order to make it look like they stopped on a 7, you're going to do a move that is very similar to the KM move. You're going to have these four fingers retain the top card. Now, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to basically peel away this top packet, and again, your four fingers are just going to grip on that top card, and all that's going to happen is the card's going to stay. So just watch. It's going to look something like this. You take the top packet as your four fingers retain that top card. And the way that you're going to do this is, again, riffle through, they call it stop, lift the packet up, set the card down. You're going to turn your cards toward the spectator, and you're going to say, if you would have stopped me on the previous card, you would have had, in this case, the Jack of Spades. And when all you're going to do is do that same exact thing, just peel off the entire packet, and as your four fingers retain that top card, and show them that they would have picked the Jack of Spades. And now it's invisible to them that you just retain that top card in that position. So let me give you guys the spectator's view and what they would see. So let's just say they stopped right here. Okay, so if you guys would have stopped me on the previous card, you would have had the Jack of Clubs. Now, you guys could not see anything, right? Well, again, I did. I just retained that 7 in that exact spot. So again, just retain the card in that spot, just like this, and show them the card that they could have stopped at, but then deal down the card and say this is where they actually stopped, put this packet back on top, and then from here you can show that they picked another 7, and you will get a good reaction from this. Now, this is where I'm going to get into why you have that blank card in the second to last position and not just the bottom. Because when you do this move and forcing the card just like this, you're turning the cards toward the spectator to show this card. But when you're doing that, you're also flashing this card. And if this bottom card's not here, they're going to see that face down card, and that obviously would not make sense to the spectator, and that would be very suspicious. So that card is basically just there to hide that face down blank card. So now that the second 7 has been picked, you're going to get into the third 7. So here's exactly how you are going to pick the third 7. Just like the first round, you're going to spread through the deck and have the spectator touch the back of any card. So let's just say they touch the back of this card right here. Spin it out, and now this time you actually are going to show the card, and again, it's going to be a random card. And you need to get a pinky break on the top card again. So there's two ways you can do it. You can just show them the card, and as they're looking at the card, just go ahead and get your pinky break as so. Or you can do what you did the first time and just kind of do this little motion right here, do the little gesture, and then do the pinky break as you do that motion. So do what you have to do to get the pinky break underneath the top card, and you're going to set this random card on top of the deck, again, maintaining that pinky break. And you're going to lift up both cards as one, so you're just stealing that 7 away. And now what I like to do is I say something along the lines of, this actually is a third 7, you're just not looking closely enough. And what I'm going to do is what is known as a shake change, which looks a little something like this. Now, all this is flipping over the card with your index finger. So you're going to hold the card by these corners, basically the ones that are opposite of the index, with your middle and your thumb. And your index finger is doing all the work. All it is literally just twirling the card around just like that. That's all it is, just twirling the card around. So just practice this motion of the card, and once you get perfect at that, you can do the shake change easily. So you're just going to basically shake the cards with your hands, and this shaking motion is covering up the action of turning over the card just like this. And the way you kind of want to go about doing this is, as you're shaking, you don't want to shake and flip over. Otherwise, it actually is too obvious. What you want to do is shake, and as you're shaking, once you come forward at some point, once you're forward enough, you're going to flip it over quickly and then keep shaking. So you don't want to flip in the middle of shaking. You're just going to kind of come at the end of shaking, flip, and then keep shaking like that. So in full speed, it looks a little something like that. Now, on camera, it probably looked extremely obvious that I flipped the card over, and you're wondering, how does that fool anyone? It's so obvious that you're flipping the card over. Again, that's because the camera is just so close to my hands. In real life, no one ever spots it. What I like to do when I do a shake change is I don't do it in front of them like this, because I feel like sometimes they can actually kind of see the side of the card as I flip it, and then it does look too obvious. So what I did in the performance is I just kind of stood up next to it. I put the card next to my body, so I'm kind of pulling it off camera right now. But I put the card next to my body and shook it like next to my head as I turned it over. And again, it fooled everyone. No one saw a thing. So again, just shake, flip, keep shaking. So now it looks like the card just visually changed to a different card, and you are going to get a great reaction from this. This is probably my favorite part of the trick. I love the shake change. So once you change the card, you're going to set the card on top of the deck, or both cards on top of the deck, and just cleanly deal down that third 7. So that random card is now on top of the deck. And you want to get that random card into the middle of the deck, so just go ahead and just slip cut it to the center again. So now you are left with, one more 7 on top of the deck, and you still have your blank card in the second to last position. You no longer want it in the second to last position. This bottom card, I explained its purpose earlier, is now useless. So you want to ditch that bottom card into the center of the pack now. So the way that you're going to do this is you're going to get a thumb break on the bottom card. You're going to swing cut about half the deck and put this packet on top and drop the thumb break on top of that packet while maintaining another pinky break. Now, you're just going to table cut the cards only once, one time. So when you have your break, you just table cut the cards once from the break and then set the other pile down. You don't want to do a thing where you go 1, 2, and then do multiple table cuts. And the reason for this is that bottom blank card is going to get lost somewhere in the center, and you do not want that. You want it to stay on the bottom. So essentially all that's happening here is, I took 2 cards, my bad, but basically you take that bottom card, cut it like this, drop the break on top, and then just do 1 cut, just like that, not multiple, just 1. So basically all you've done is moved that random bottom card to the top. Why is that a 7? Okay, so again, you swing cut about half the cards, drop that bottom card on top of that packet, maintain the pinky break, cut the packet, just like that. So now what happened is all you did was bring that random card to the top. That's literally all you did. You did nothing else to the pack. So now you want to get that random card into the center of the pack, so once again, just slip cut it to the center. So now your setup is going to be the final 7 on top of the deck, and then your blank card, or the card is in the box card, however you want to refer to it, on the bottom of the pack. So now let's get into the 4th and final force. Okay, so very quickly before we get into this 4th force, I want to explain to you why you keep the helper card face down for the majority of the effect. Because when you keep a card face down, a lot of the times spectators are going to be suspicious that that's not the actual card, that you switched it out or changed it for a different card. So you're going to have spectators that are very doubtful that the seven of spades is still there. But as you go onto this next force, when you show the helper card and stick it into the middle, the spectator is going to have a sense of ease and just a sense of satisfaction knowing that the card is still there and you haven't done anything sneaky. And then you're going to steal that back from them later on when this changes into the blank card. And we're going to get into that right now. So just like the second round, you're going to riffle through the pack and have the spectator call out stop. Wherever they say stop, you're going to put the 7 in, but face up this time. So they call out stop, they set the card in. Now, you have the card out jogged in front of you, but you don't want it in this position, you want it in this position. So to get here naturally, the way that I like to do this is I turn the deck to the side and I'll be like, I'm going to give you the option. Would you like to leave the card where it is or move it further up or further down? If they leave it where it is, you're good. If they want to move it further up, then let them move it further up. If they want to move it further down, let them move it further down. Wherever the final destination of the 7 is, they'll be like, okay, they're good. Just kind of be like, okay, perfect. And then just kind of turn the deck toward you. So they're not going to really think anything of it. You just turn the deck. Again, no one's really going to question you about that at all. So you're going to appear to just kind of push the 7 into the spot, but you're not going to leave it flush with the deck. You're going to maintain a break. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to push in, but you're going to push down on it as well. And what this is going to do is allow you to keep a thumb break, and then you're just going to convert that thumb break to a pinky break. Now that you have this break, the main thing that you want to do here is what is known as a turnover pass. Now, a turnover pass is just cutting the cards invisibly. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to move this packet out of the way so you understand what's going on. On this bottom packet, your 3 fingers right here are going to curl on top of the packet, and your index finger is going to curl on the bottom of the packet as so. Just so you can kind of move the packet like this, and this is the key to making the turnover pass work. So you're holding this packet on top now, and all you're doing is curling this packet under to form this T shape. And then you're going to bring it to the side of the deck like this, and your hand is going to provide all the cover, as you guys can see. And then you're just going to take this top packet and flip it over on top of that portion, and just kind of maybe set the pack down for a moment or pause and talk to the spectator just a little bit, and then you're going to get into the production of the next 7. So let's just look at that one more time. Okay, so you have a break where your 7 is, don't forget. So now again, you're going to set up for the turnover pass. You curl your index finger under, curl your 3 fingers over, and then you just curl the packet like this, all the way up to your hand. Again, your hand provides all the cover so the spectator won't see anything. And then just take this packet right here and just turn it over on top of that packet and just square everything up. And all it's going to look like is that you turned over the deck. Now, you don't want to draw too much attention to your hands when you're doing the turnover pass because they may see something. So the way that I like to do it is if I'm doing this to multiple spectators, I'll be like, here, everyone hold on to their respective 7. And as they're taking their 7s, that's what I'll do the turnover pass as a form of misdirection. If I'm doing it to just one spectator, I'll be like, here, hold on to these 7s so that I can't do anything funny with them or any tricky moves. And as they move them closer, I'll do the turnover pass. Again, just as a form of misdirection, and to keep the attention away from my hands, it makes the move a whole lot easier. But once you do the turnover pass, what's going to happen is that is going to leave the last and final 7 next to the blank card, and then the 7 of spades, the helper card, is actually going to be right here on the bottom of the pack, or technically the top, depending on how you view it. So since you put it in the opposite direction, you're going to be like, okay, let's look for that face down 7. So when you go through and they see this, they automatically assume that that's the 7, and since you've kept it face down the entire trick, or almost the entire trick, they will automatically think that that's the 7. You set this down, and now the trick appears to be over. But now, here is the probably the most sneakiest part of the effect. You're going to talk to the spectator and just get a thumb break right here on the bottom card as so, which is again going to be that 7. And you're going to say how this trick should never be possible. And you're going to say something along the lines of, well, you picked the 7s because the card that we picked initially was the 7 of spades. That's what led us to pick the 7s. And then what I'll kind of do here is I'll say, you could have picked any 4 of a kind. And as I do this, I kind of take the deck over to the card box. And now this is where the big part comes in. All you're doing right here is literally, as you're talking to the spectator, is taking that thumb break and dropping it on top of the card box. So now you have this random, well, not the random card, but you have the helper card just sitting there on top of the card box. And the spectators won't even know it's there for 2 reasons. Number 1, it blends in perfectly with the back. And also, they're not even going to be looking at the box. So no one's really focusing on the box, so this is why it works so well. And even if someone happens to get a glance at the box, they're not going to see anything because no one's focusing. They may just see it, but they don't think anything of it because they don't see anything there. And then, basically, here's what I also love too, is let's just say in your performance, as you drop the thumb break, you drop it like kind of crabby and it ends up something like this. Obviously, it's pretty obvious that the card is there. Again, just keep talking to the spectator. Do not panic. Just talk to them because, again, no one's focusing on the box. So you have all the time in the world as your hand is sitting here to kind of just readjust that to show it fits nice and perfectly with the back. So once it's flush, you can kind of draw the spectator's attention back to the 7s, and then they're going to flip over this card. You can flip it over if you want, but I kind of like to have them flip it over. And then when they see this, their minds are going to be blown. And as they flip it over, I pick up the box immediately, only because I don't want them to look at this for too long, otherwise they could possibly see the card. So that's why I just pick it up as quickly as I possibly can, and I hold it just like this. Then they won't see anything. And then this is basically the point in the trick where I say, it is impossible for you to pick the 7 of spades if it was in the card box the entire time. And all you're going to do here is turn the box toward them. You're using your thumb here to make sure the card doesn't fall. Open up the flap and just stick your 4 fingers inside the card box and just put your thumb right here on the back card and just pull the card. And what's good is when you have this flap, it actually makes it look like you're pulling it out of the center. So let me give you guys a view of what the spectator is going to see. That's what they see. So it generally looks like the card is coming out of the middle. If this flap isn't here, you can actually tell easily that the card is coming from the back, as you guys can tell. So that's why this flap is really, really going to help you out. So again, just stick your 4 fingers in, put this thumb right here, and then just pull. And it makes it look like the card comes out of the box for a really awesome illusion. And what I love is everything is inspectable. The blank card, the 7s, and the entire deck. Most spectators are going to assume you have a duplicate 7, but there will be nothing to find. So anyways, guys, that is the trick. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Again, make sure you practice this. It is a tough one, so perfect it and let me know what you guys think about it. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Cardtrix 8 signing off. Peace out.